So the Rams have officially built a super team. But Nate Adkins of The Athletic is reporting that there is some growing concern with their offensive line depth, writing, "The heavy play-action nature of the offense does help the line in pass protection, but it also asks Stafford to turn his back to the defense on a given snap, so the protection will need to hold up to protect what matters more than anything to this team, protecting number 9. Totally fair observation. There's no perfect team. Every team has at least some question marks. Geoff, is this a legitimate concern for the 38-year-old Matt Stafford?
Yes, it has to be concerned, especially if Jackson's going to be out for some time at left tackle. They don't look. Now, to be fair, most teams don't have backup tackles just waiting out there.
Yes.
So it's not just a Rams problem when guys get hurt, but it's still just not an overly talented offensive line. They play hard. They certainly do. I think the scheme definitely helps them. The play action pass. They build a lot of double teams, right? And what they do with the duo in the inside zone and stuff. And they do a really good job of sort of eye manipulating the defense to give you different looks to sort of move guys pre-snap and post-snap. They find ways to make it work. The problem is you're in Seattle on 3rd and 8. Can you hold up on 3rd and 8, right? You're on the road somewhere else. Can you hold up in those situations where Matt Stafford needs a little bit more time? I'm not sure I trust this offensive line as it's constructed to do that consistently enough to where I feel great about it. They're not in the top probably half of the league in offensive lines. They're not. Maybe they're in bottom 3rd, somewhere around there. So it is a concern, absolutely.
It's not that big of a concern, in my opinion, because you do have Matthew Stafford. And this is why I say it. When you have a veteran guy who, do you think we know if the offensive line is more of a concern than Matthew Stafford? No,
he probably has more intel.
And so if he's aware of it, like typically when you have a veteran quarterback, a guy who knows, okay, my left side is a little weak, I know when I need to get the ball out quicker. I know when I need to speed this thing up. That's what you got in Matthew Stafford. He is fully aware, so as well as Sean McVay. So all those points that you make about the window dressing and the motions and the helping out, if you will, of where you are weak or where you can have some voids, you're going to do those things. But the number one thing for this outfit offensively, they have to be able to run the ball. If they cannot run the ball, none of what they do truly works because it's predicated off of the play action fake. But if they can run the ball, everything, all systems go. You can be missing the offensive lineman, and Matthew Stafford knows, okay, I got to get this ball out quick because I know this guy is rushing from the right, and I don't have that long of protection. I got to get the ball out and make a quick decision.
So I remember going into last year. Remember Matt Stafford has the stiff back, and we had questions about the offensive line, and we were like, man, this is going to be the thing.
I didn't think he was going to make it through the season.
And then he led the league in touchdowns and won MVP going away, and it was one of the great seasons that we've seen from a quarterback recently. So I think there's all the reason in the world to give McVay and Stafford the benefit of the doubt. And Stafford, it's kind of insane. For his age, 35, 36, and 37 seasons, his last 3 years, how many games he's missed due to injury? 1. But it is really impressive that he has had the bumps, the bruises, the bad back, the age, the bad offensive line, the questionable offensive line, and he stayed upright for it. So he knows. But I will say, it is how you go from a super team to overrated if this is the year that the offensive line is the issue. Because we were looking this up before the show. Matt Stafford, when he's not hit, and we just judge this by sacks, and I know there's other ways to do it, pressures, hits, all those things. But when Matt Stafford is sacked 0 or 1 times, he is, obviously everyone's good, right? Like the NFL average there is excellent. Score 20. If you're not getting the pass rush home, you're going to be good. But Stafford is in another universe, right? He's scoring 33 points per game if he's operating back there without being afraid of getting touched. It's spectacular. But if he gets sacked 3 or more times, and again, everyone's numbers go down, but Stafford is right in line with league average. So I thought that was fascinating. Everyone is good when they're not hurt or not hit, but Stafford is way better than average. When he is looking down, worried, not confident about his offensive line, getting peeled off the turf a few times, he is right in line with a league average player. So can that be the Achilles heel for the Rams to turn this offense, which was arguably the best in football, into a league average unit?
To your point, it would be if that's the reason why they don't play well. It's the offensive line. But Greg mentioned it's important. Running the ball on early downs, makes third down shorter, which means you get the ball quicker, which means Stafford has more protection inside, which means you can play extra passes, move the pocket. I thought it was interesting in the first preseason, they moved the pocket a lot.
They did.
A lot, that maybe more they do with Stafford. I wonder if that's something they're going to add to the offense that allows the offensive line just sort of get a break on that play. With all the tight ends they do, there's so many different ways they can use a lot of that bootleg action. Obviously, Stafford doesn't move as well as Ty Simpson does, but that was not new to the offense, but it was very heavily influenced in game one. That means they've been doing it in camp. That means they've been working on moving the pocket stuff. That's another element to help an offensive line through a tough stretch.
I think that the super team moniker is fun because we know a lot of the names, but it's a very top-heavy roster. Like when you don't have all of those first-round picks, they've done a good job of drafting in the middle rounds, but they don't have a lot of young, cheap reinforcements of premium draft talent. You know, Devontae, old. Stafford, old. Obviously, Puka Nacua, not old and should be excellent and in his prime. We're talking about Aaron Donald making a big difference. Myles Garrett at 30 years old, changing over their secondary. I think they are the deserving favorites who are still a little overrated. Like, I don't think they are much better than every other team in the NFL. If we have questions about their offensive line, if they're a top-heavy roster.
So we talked briefly about the Seahawks. And the one thing that you kind of mentioned or alluded to was they're returning players.
Yeah.
And then mentioning, well, they drafted guys, but they're not going to be playing. So they have depth. This is one of the issues when you have a top-heavy roster. Yes. It's like, okay, we have the names that we're rolling out immediately. But if anything starts to happen, do we have the depth to where we can still sustain who we expected ourselves to be because of the depth behind them? And I don't know if this team has that. If they don't have the injuries, no issue. All systems go. They should be fine. But if they start having some issues of injuries, then it could go left really, really fast.
To be fair, they have done this once, right? They won the first Super Bowl and reloaded and got back to where they are now. So, but the question is, if you look at the roster just as it is right now, the depth is not quite there, but that typically happens for very top-heavy teams that are trying to win Super Bowls.
And you got a very high floor with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford.
Unbelievable.
It's a very high floor. Let's talk about another team that's probably also being a little forgotten in their division because of how good Seattle and the Rams are, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. They are, of course, they're the Niners. They're dealing with a slew of injuries. They have the joint practices going on right now with the Chargers. Also, that, shockingly or not, is impacting Brock Purdy. Take a listen.
Honestly, I don't think it was our best day. I feel like fundamentals and stuff were just a little off and whatnot. I mean, obviously there was some good stuff, some stuff we need to work on, but I just feel like we could have came out with a little bit more chip on our shoulder. Offensively, I don't know how our defense did, but yeah, that's just overall thoughts.
Greg, would you sell stock in the Niners?
Yeah, I would sell stock in the Niners. Look, Kyle Shanahan did a tremendous job last year. Tremendous job last year.
Great coach.
If he has to, if things that we're seeing right now continue to be what we're seeing moving through the season, again, with the injuries, not having guys available, it's just hard. I don't care how good of a coach you are to do it again in this league, let alone in that division.
Yeah, being the third best team behind the two teams that were in the NFC Championship game and having injuries is a tough spot to be.
It's just a tough spot.
The problem besides the injuries is that they have drafted very poorly for 4 years now. They have not drafted well. When you look at their roster and their depth, you can look at the first round picks. Obviously, we couldn't put all the last 4 years on here, but Trey Lance, obviously, they traded all those picks. They missed out on first round picks for years. Pearsall, obviously, unfortunately, had some off the field, right? Got hurt again. Williams got hurt last season. But the rest of the roster, none of these guys are any impact players. You go down 2023, 2024, 2025. They don't have any impact players that are young. They're all super top heavy. So if these guys start getting hurt, which they're getting hurt as they get older, there's no one to backfill. There's just no one there. And we don't talk enough about the Niners draft picks, man. Like, who are the dudes? Who are the dudes right now that you got? Trent, obviously, got McCaffrey, got Warner. Yeah, you got Purdy. Who else?
Kittle, Bosa,
sure,
Evans.
They're all old.
Yeah,
they're
right.
They're all old.
That is the thing. If this was a video game and you could turn health or you could turn injuries off,
Yes.
right? You're just like everybody gets to play
Yeah.
Oh, one of the best in the
100% healthy season. I would think they're very live. But it's very hard because it's not a video game. I checked.
Correct.
like to say that there aren't going to be injuries when your best players are old players and your
Yes.
best players are old players with an injury history and you're in that division. But I would also say, like, they are a good team. Like they got a great coach, so that gives them a high floor. They have a quarterback who is way better than I thought he would ever be, but forget that. He just executes that system to an unbelievable level. And if they weren't in the NFC West, now AFC West it wouldn't be, NFC North it wouldn't necessarily be, but I feel like the Niners would be favorites or second favorites in about half the divisions in football. But they're third in this division because of where they're. They are a very good team that it feels like at the beginning of the year their ceiling is the wild card because of how good the Seahawks and the Rams are, whereas obviously if they were in the NFC South, they'd be the clear favorite. So I do think they're a little bit better than we talk about, even with the injury caveat.
So when you listen to Brock Purdy and he starts talking about, he leads with talking about fundamentals, that's a red flag. You talked about this. Red flag or what was it?
Just check mark. Check mark, red flag.
Check mark, red flag.
In the preseason.
When your quarterback is getting up and saying, man, the fundamentals we could have been better fundamentally. What? That means there's a lot of missed assignments. Yeah. There's a lot of pre-snap issues.
But McCaffrey's not practicing right now. Mike Evans isn't doing it. You know,
that's the problem. we get that, which is why I'm saying I'm taking all my stock and I'm selling.
I can tell you're not a gambler. You're
pulling
your stock in words.
You know what he was doing.
I was about to push it in, and I realized I can't push it in. I am not a gambler.
I get it. It's very confusing. We're mixing metaphors here. Caleb Williams and the Bears put up about 26 points per game last season, just under. It was Ben Johnson's first year as the head coach. But according to Ben Solak, he had a great piece out today on the Bears offense and its evolution, there's more to it than just Caleb Williams. Solak writes, the Bears offense was stripped down to the studs and rebuilt anew in a process Johnson knew would be painful and slow, but it worked. It set up the Bears for total team success. Not only in 2025 when a revitalized QB, but for years to come with a complete system, and it started not on the air, but on the ground. So I wanted to make this question very high stakes. Do you think, and by the way, shout out to Ben Solak. I was asking Troy, our esteemed researcher here at First Things First Overtime and First Things First, I was like, do you know how he got one of these stats in there? And he's like, no. And that means they're going deep. If Troy hasn't seen one of the stats, I was like, that is very good stuff. It was a very thorough piece. But do you think it is on the board that the Bears are the best offense in football?
I would say it's not off the board. If Williams takes the next jump, look, he's got to complete more passes. We talk about it all the time with him. It's just got to be a little more in rhythm, a little more in structure. We know he can do the off-structure stuff. We know he can do the fourth quarter comebacks and those sweet plays in overtime. We get that. Can he do it early in the game? Can he do it on script? And if the Bears' defense is not very good this season, he's going to have to score a ton of points to keep up. So there's that combination as well. Look, if you sort of have the check marker pieces, right? Running back, good. Quarterback, tight end, really good. Weapons, really good. Obviously, you hope for health and burn and whatnot. You know, he's healthy. Offensive line, 4 of the 5, you feel pretty good about. Got to figure out left tackle. Great. Like they're capable of being that team. It's a lot of competition. But if we think Caleb Williams can be as good as he can get to, year 2, I'm counting this as year 2 for him. Year 1 we're throwing out, right? Year 2, basically. A lot of quarterbacks make that jump between year 1 and year 2.
So, yes.
Love
I'm going to answer the question straight up. Yes.
Love it.
Was it Ben Solak?
Yeah.
He said it started not in the air, on the ground. And when you watch this team, they run the ball well.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was out the gate. We were going to run the ball. Ben Johnson knew he did it in Detroit. He understood the philosophy of we got to start with our ground attack. They have established what they want to be and what it's going to look like if you're playing them and you're trying to stop the run. You better be ready. The next step is the passing game. And I had to look more into why Caleb was so bad in terms of completion percentage, because when you watch him with Colston Loveland, it's like, man, I don't see too many drop passes. I don't see too many errant throws. But it was the receivers. And again, when you look at these numbers, they're glaring. Like, you got to be able to make those throws on the left to your receivers. And now you got Rome Odunze. I know Moore isn't there. Zach is not there. But Luther Burden on Rome Odunze, they're going to be there. You cannot throw under 60% when you're trying to be a great offense moving forward, and the next phase is the offense. Now, when he's throwing to the tight end, specifically Colston Loveland, over 70%, but 67% is the average. Now the targets are down. I think that's actually going to come up because Ben Johnson is one of those guys that he's going to challenge him in the places where he's been most uncomfortable. And clearly, where he's been most uncomfortable is throwing outside the numbers to those guys at the skill position, meaning the wide receivers. If he gets that up to 63, 64%, he's going to improve with the tight ends. So that number may go up, and naturally they'll be able to sustain drives, make drives a little easier, and execute in the red zone with him as a dual threat quarterback and that running game. Yeah, they can be one of the better offenses, if not the best offense in all of football.
Obviously, everyone knows I think that they can be the best offense in football, and it's just an amazing thing to go into a year thinking that the Bears can be. I mean, they literally have never had the number one scoring offense in my life. I turned 40 in October, so it's never happened. They've been second twice, and that's basically it. And so it's a foreign concept. Ben Johnson just talks about explosive plays. The article details brilliantly how the first 4 weeks of last year, they basically had no running game, and they spent the entire bye week being like, this is what we have to do. This is what you guys are messing up. These are the attention to details. And then from the bye week on, they were the best running team in football. Ended up as the second overall rushing team in the NFL the first 4 weeks. Sunk it. Their offensive line is very good. Sure, there's questions at left tackle. Dahlman retiring at center is an issue, but they brought in Bradbury, and they drafted the kid out of Iowa. They drafted another tight end, Sam Roush. They kept my guy Cole Kmet. Yeah. They still have Colston Loveland. Like, they want to be at the forefront of putting 2 and 3 tight ends on the field. Yeah. So if you go small, we're going to run on you, and if you go big, we're going to pass on you. Like, Ben Johnson wants to be at the forefront of that in the play action game. And I just truly believe that by the end of the year, we're going to say there is a big 3 of the young, big-brained coaches in the NFL with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, and Ben Johnson's just in that group. And I think it's going to be Ben Johnson, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and then you give those guys great quarterback play and great quarterback talent, they just win big. Yeah. Like that's just what we've seen. So Caleb Williams with that coach, I do think that's their ceiling. Now, again, Dallas thinks they could be the best offense, right?
And they have a shot.
Buffalo, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Detroit, the Rams. Yes. There's a lot of teams who think they can be the best offense in football, but I firmly believe the Bears are in that group.
I still have to look at year 2 with these coordinators, these guys, these young whizzes, man. Year 2, it really pops, right? You know what your team is good at, you know what your team is bad at, and you spend all offseason working on those things. You come into year 2, and everyone's just so much more confident. Imagine where they are now, just entering this week of training camp compared to last year. Like, they're just way ahead. I think they're going to have a great season.
They said last year in training camp, everything about Caleb Williams was pre-snap. Getting the play call out, getting to the line of scrimmage, not having procedural penalties and false start penalties. Everything was about pre-snap. This training camp, they said, it's all been about post-snap. So just in terms of what you're talking about, like he was like, I didn't spend a lot of time reading defenses last year because he was so worried about everything that was happening pre-snap. There's a very, very high ceiling associated with this team on offense.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.